All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the breakout session on innovations for securing your workload with Google Cloud Next Generation Firewalls. My name is Tracy. Today, I will be delivering the session together with two of my colleagues, Megan and Susaant, and our customer speaker, Richard, from McKesson. I hope the message we'll be bringing to you in the next 45 minutes is going to be an exciting ending to your first day at Next. In today's session, we'll introduce the Cloud NG Firewall. Megan and I are going to give you the product details from a PM perspective. Then Richard will share his perspective as a customer based on his experience with the product. Then Susaant will be joining us to discuss how the open architecture offered by the Cloud NG Firewall is going to allow you to easily insert a third-party firewall appliance of your choice into the system. And in the end, we'll leave time to answer your questions. Okay, let's get started. Here on the screen, you see a chart showing you a growing trend of the cyber attack and how quickly an attack can penetrate once it gets into your environment. This is probably not the first time you see a chart like this. And yes, today I'm going to remind you again, the danger is still out there. By moving your workload into the public cloud, all these threats are not going to suddenly go away. In fact, in certain cases, the lateral movement of the threat can get even faster. Therefore, you need an effective tool to protect yourself. While cloud presents some unique challenges for security, it also gives us a unique opportunity to rethink the problem of network security and redesign the system that can best protect you in this new era. And that is what we are going to share with you today. To better serve our customer, we first listen to them. Here are some of the top asks we have been hearing from them over the years when it comes to their need for network security in the cloud. First, they need the best threat and vulnerability protection they can get to protect them against the attack coming from all different directions. Then they need simplicity. They want fully managed service that auto-scales. They want the firewall rule that are easy to configure and easy to maintain over time. They also need both broad and deep control into every workload they put into the cloud. And when bad things happen, they want to be able to take actions quickly to control the damage. Those are the asks that we keep in mind when we design and implement the Cloud NG Firewall in the past 2 years. With this product, we hope to give you a brand new way in applying network security control to your dynamic workload in the cloud environment. The product comes with the 3 core pillars: advanced threat protection, simple, fast, and scalable, and a unique set of capabilities to help you govern the network security posture. Now let's take a look at them one by one. Advanced threat protection is always one of the first things customers ask of us when they put their business critical asset into our hands to host for them. To satisfy their need, we chose to partner with the market leader. We partnered closely with Palo Alto Networks to integrate their market-leading threat prevention engine deep into our system. The engine is powered by powerful ML technology as well as massive data and insights that they collect across their global deployment base. We combine this with the threat intelligence we get from Mandiant and other groups of Google and get a threat prevention engine that is powerful enough that we can protect our customer with strong confidence. Now we need to put this powerful engine into action. For that, they need simplicity, scalability, and performance. And that is where our fully distributed firewall architecture comes into play. Traditionally, When you deploy firewall, you put the firewall appliances, you configure routing policy to send your traffic to those appliances. Then you configure the rules in the appliances to inspect the traffic that you send through them. In Google Cloud, we took a different approach. We adopted a fully distributed firewall architecture, and we built our firewall directly into our software-defined network. And we plugged the firewall inspection point right next to every VM interface. With such an architecture, we can make sure the security always follows the workload. And we allow our user to turn on the security across the entire cloud with zero routing changes. This firewall fabric provides a full protection for all workload that you bring onto Google Cloud. No matter it's running over a GCE instance or GKE nodes, it watches for traffic in all different directions, ingress, egress, north, south, and east, west. We integrate this with the IAM-governed tag to give our customer a very reliable mechanism for micro-segmentation and give them extremely granular control. With the system, our customer can literally turn on any firewall control between any two directly connected interfaces in Google Cloud, including advanced threat prevention. That is two interfaces across two peered network, within the same VPC network, or even within the same subnet. The fully distributed data plan automatically scales with the dynamic workload you bring into the cloud. And the instance will be protected with a fast inspection, and the engine introduces minimum latency during the inspection. Built on top of this massive firewall fabric is our unified firewall policy that's used to govern every workload and their security policies. Because the security policies is enforced out of the routing fabric, therefore those policies can be independently audited and ensured without worrying about any security drift by accidental routing or network configuration changes. Every policy deployed will provide the control for all the workloads in its scope. That scope could be an org, a folder, or a network that include both existing workload and new workload that's deployed. Whenever there's a new workload that is deployed in the cloud, the system will make sure to deploy the relevant rules into the workload and get that into action before it will even allow the workload to send or receive the first packet. And if our customer have the firewall login turned on, we'll also give them a ML-based recommendation to help them configure and maintain a strict rule set over time. Since the policy can be deployed at the different layers of the GCP resource hierarchy, starting from the org, followed by folder, and then go to the VPC network, the policy enforcement order also follows this top-down order. This type of mechanism makes sure whatever the policy you configure and deploy at the organization level can never be violated by accidental policy change at the lower level of the hierarchy, such as the project, unless you explicitly grant an exception for them. Well, we give you all the mechanism to help you maintain and control your firewall configuration. We understand things still happen. When there's a bad incident happening, you need to take action. And that's where the tag-based rule comes into the picture. With the tag-based rule, you can pre-program a set of reaction functions through those rules. And when the bad incident happens, all you need to do is to apply the special tag into the infected system. So all the pre-programmed reactions will get into the place and help you control the damage. All right, I hope you get excited enough, and I'll pass it over to Megan to give you further information on this new product. Megan.
so much, Tracy. As Tracy mentioned, Cloud NGFW is built with Palo Alto Networks technologies. So many of you are already familiar with Palo Alto Networks threat prevention technologies. Let's see why it matters that we built this product using Palo Alto Networks threat prevention engine. Palo Alto Networks threat prevention engine is processing more than 15 trillion transactions per day, which are coming from all of the firewalls and endpoints that they have deployed across their huge customer base. On top of that, they have more than 200 threat researchers who are going through each of these threats and digging deeper and making sure they have a good understanding of threat landscape and releasing ongoing updates to protect the customers. The result of this is more than 4.3 million updates every day to make sure customers are protected against the latest zero-day attacks. Let's take Log4j as an example. When Log4j incident happened, many enterprises were impacted. The ideal solution to address Log4j would have been upgrading all the software internally. However, that would have been a super lengthy process. And that's where the importance of having a security vendor such as Palo Alto Networks becomes apparent, because Palo Alto Networks was quick in releasing an update to make sure they identify any kind of exploit sessions that were trying to take advantage of Log4j vulnerability. Having talked about Log4j and vulnerabilities and exploits, let's take a look at what are the different types of attacks that Cloud NGFW can protect you against. The first type of attacks is vulnerabilities and exploits. The second type is threats, and the last one is command and control attacks. When we're talking about vulnerabilities and exploits, we're talking about things like buffer overflows. When we think about threat prevention, we're talking about making sure we have protection against virus or spyware, as well as known or unknown malware. And when we're talking about command and control attacks, many of you are familiar with this category, which is super important, is making sure we flag any kind of inbound or outbound connection to malicious domains, as well as inspecting the payload to make sure there is no command and control communication happening. Now, what we did, since security efficacy is super important for us and was the first and highest priority for us when we were releasing Cloud NGFW, what we did was making a comparison between our product and other cloud firewalls out there to see how we are performing in terms of security efficacy. And as you can see here, we were more efficient in blocking any kind of critical or medium attacks or high attacks compared to all the other two other cloud vendors out there. So you can see this is very important because you want to make sure when you buy a cloud firewall, it comes with an out-of-the-box rule set, which is protecting you against all these kind of attacks from day one. Now let's talk about other differentiators here. Tracy already talked about simplicity and performance. Now let's take a deeper look. So what you see on the left side is a traditional firewall deployment, and on the right side is a Cloud NGFW deployment model that we are providing to you. So there are three main important things that you can notice with the firewall deployment. First, it's where the firewall is deployed. The second one is how you are defining the traffic that is routed to the firewall. And the last one is making sure that where this security controls are enforced. Is it at perimeter? Is it close to the workload? And when you look at this picture, you can see that basically with the traditional firewall, you had the perimeter-based appliance or virtual VM that you're deploying at the perimeter. And you have to route all the traffic from your workloads to this firewall. And sometimes you need to make architectural changes for this. And all of the enforcement is only happening at the perimeter where the firewall is deployed. However, let's compare it with Cloud NGFW that we're talking about today. With Cloud NGFW, as Tracy talked about, we have the distributed stateful firewall, which is getting deployed as close to the workload as possible. It's right at the VM interface level. And what it brings you as a customer is ability to inspect the traffic, whether it's east-west or north-south traffic, as well as being able to deploy this firewall without any kind of architecture changes or routing to be able to send the traffic to this firewall. We have had this cloud firewall which provided you with layer 3 and 4 inspection in this distributed fashion for a long time, but now we're taking this one step further by introducing layer 7 inspection capabilities on top of the same architecture. This is, again, another differentiator for us, which is rather than providing you another different rule base for layer 7 inspection, we have built the layer 7 inspection on top of the same distributed firewall, which means we are enabling you to do the inspection as close to the workload as possible. How we do this is using a new technology called packet intercept, which is part of the Google Cloud's Andromeda software-defined networking. And it enables us to have these firewall endpoints located in the same zone as your workload, being able to be just like a bump in the wire, like routing the traffic close to the workload to the firewall endpoint, inspecting the traffic using the Palo Alto Networks firewall, which is running under the hood, and then enforcing the policy you set and continuing with the flow. Let's talk about what value this brings to you. So Tracy touched on this topic already. So one of the biggest values of this architecture and this partnership with Palo Alto Networks is the operational simplicity. We already talked about security efficacy. Now, operational simplicity has been top of mind for many of our customers. With the traditional approach, you have perimeter rules, and sometimes you have workload rules as well, but they're only for layer 3 and 4. And anytime there is any change in your infrastructure, when you have new workloads, for example, you have to have this manual process, making sure your policies are up to date, your posture is secure, and is reflecting the same infrastructure workloads that you have. And if there is an incident happening, it might be super slow to go brute force and making sure the policy is applied everywhere. Versus the new model with Cloud NGFW, we are providing you with a single policy, which is basically this hierarchical policy Tracy talked about, combining workload and perimeter, bringing both layer 3 and 4, all of them all next to the workload, and making sure the policy is following the workload using the IAM tags, enabling you to write these policies, and it simplifies your incident response process as well. So if there is any incident, rather than that manual process, policy is going to automatically be applied to all of your workloads that you're defining with that policy. Let's talk about Cloud NGFW. I will close my section by wrapping it up saying, what are the different tiers when we say Cloud NGFW? Cloud NGFW consists of 3 main tiers: Essentials, Standard, and Plus. Cloud Firewall Essentials has been there for a long time. You're probably using it, which is covering L3 and 4 inspection. We recently launched Cloud Firewall Standard, which is adding threat intelligence, FQDN objects, and geolocation objects. And with this presentation, I was telling you about Cloud Firewall Plus, which is basically providing you with layer 7 inspections across TLS and non-TLS traffic powered by Palo Alto Networks threat prevention technologies. We are going to rebrand Cloud Firewall to Cloud NGFW next year. I wrap up my talk, and I would like to invite Richard, one of our dear customers, to walk you through his journey with Cloud Firewall. Richard.
Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Persaud. I'm a network security architect with CoverMyMeds. CoverMyMeds is a business unit of McKesson. We're in the healthcare industry. As a network security architect, I design, engineer, and implement the network and network security components that protect our environments and workloads. Today, I would like to talk about network security architecture in the cloud and how Google's firewall products helps us secure our workloads and environments. So what we have here is a typical VPC, a typical hub and spoke design. This is modified in the sense that I do have a separate inbound hub that I will explain in more detail. A large driver of this design came from operational support perspective. This needs to be easy to understand and to support. And this design meets all of those requirements. This design uses shared VPCs, host, and service projects. At the center is the transit hub. This is where all of our networking and network security takes place. This includes cloud routers, interconnects, VPNs, and our transit firewalls. All of the spokes in this design are peered to this transit hub, with the exception of the sandboxes. The VPC spokes are essentially an application or application group. The spokes are peered, as I mentioned earlier, to the transit hub. Everything traverses through this transit hub. So let's say we have an application in spoke A that wants to talk to another application in spoke B. That is going to traverse that transit hub. If spoke B needs to get out to the internet, it's going to go through that transit hub. Consequently, if on-premise needs to talk to one of the spokes, it's going to traverse that transit hub, and vice versa, if a spoke needs to talk to on-premise. For the inbound part, we decided to split our inbound traffic. So that is where the modified portion of hub and spoke come in. If a customer, an internet-based customer needs to access an application in a spoke, they're gonna come through the internet, come through this inbound hub. The inbound hub has its own networking and network security stack, and then go into the application spoke. And then if that application spoke needs to reach further inbound, it'll go through that transit hub. Not all spokes are going to be internet accessible. Not all of them will need inbound access. So those that do not need that access will not be peered to that inbound hub. The sandboxes are basically a tech playground where you can try new ideas and new technologies. Those sandboxes do not have any production data, do not have any non-prod data, and they're not connected to the dev environments or the production environments at all. They're completely isolated. Now, how do we secure this? Well, the first part is with the classic Google firewalls. These are great. They're fast, they're simple, they're easy to maintain. But a huge part of network security is visibility. And we need that layer 7 visibility. So what we have decided to do in this design is to deploy VM-based Palo Alto auto-scaling firewall appliances. Because the hubs are central to everything, we've decided to put them in that center transit hub as well as the inbound hub. These next-gen firewalls are at the core of our design. So being that these are Palo Altos, we are now able to achieve top-of-class application visibility. The transit firewalls for both the inbound and the hub, since they are VM appliances, integrate directly with Panorama. So managing them is a very familiar feel. While our current design works fairly well, we do have a few challenges. First, we have multiple layers of firewall rules that we have to manage. We've got the GCP firewall rules, and we also have Palo Alto firewall rules. There is routing and network maintenance that has to happen. Every time we add a VPC or a subnet, we need to manually add static routes to the route tables on the Palo Alto appliances. Our auto-scaling design for the Palo Altos requires the use of source natting or SNATs. This adds a layer of complexity when we're trying to troubleshoot. We also have to write and maintain separate Terraform code for the Palo Alto deployments, as well as the cloud-native firewall rules. Then there is also the maintenance of the VM Palo Altos, code upgrades, lifecycle maintenance, licensing, sizing requirements, cost, as well as auto-scale monitoring and maintenance. With the addition of Firewall Plus to the product catalog, we are now able to maintain our efficacy. With cloud-native firewalling and the power of the Palo Alto threat engine behind it, we now have the same or better level of protection as with the VM Palo Altos. We can maintain our healthcare regulatory compliance and increase our overall security posture by introducing less complications. We also have easier TLS implementation, which also means better visibility. The distributed data plane will also allow for less firewalls overall without losing performance or resiliency. We can achieve east-west and north-south protection without multiple sets of firewalls. It also increases the simplicity of the design and the overall maintenance. With Firewall Plus, there are no routing changes. There's no more SNAPs to worry about. We have simplified Terraform coding and also faster deployment times. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about a conceptual next version design using Firewall Plus. Now, this is a similar hub and spoke design. The difference here is I can collapse this down into one VPC and multiple subnets. Because of the design simplicity and the cloud-native integration, it's even easier for our operations team to understand and maintain. It's easier to implement microsegmentation as well. The distributed data plane will increase the overall performance of our environments. And being powered by Palo Alto threat engines, we can actually increase our layer 7 visibility and increase the efficiency of our design. Overall, Firewall Plus is an amazing and powerful addition to the Google product line and will definitely help secure your workloads in a simpler and more efficient way. I'd like to now hand the presentation over to our next presenter, Susaant.
Thanks, Richard. We at Google Cloud are all about meeting customers where they are. We understand that not every one of your network security needs can be met with our first-party native solutions. We know that some of you have a preference towards using your trusted vendor solutions to protect your Google Cloud workloads. So in the next few slides, I'm going to provide a sneak preview into the things that we are working on to make it easy for you to deploy and consume your choice of third-party network security solutions. It's easier to understand why we are doing certain things the way we are doing if you understand the core differentiators we are bringing to the table, and more importantly, understand what these differentiators mean to you, right? So let me start with listing out the top 3 core differentiators in our approach to enabling third-party network security insertion on Google Cloud. 1, we are going to provide you a consistent experience regardless of whether you choose to use native network security solution or your choice of third-party network security solution. 2, we are going to enable you to express your network security intent as a policy rather than as a network rules or routing rules. And 3, we are going to ensure that the deployment and operation of third-party appliances is as simple as consuming as a service experience. Now let me get into the details of why each of these differentiators is relevant for you. So let's start with cloud native experience. We had Cloud Firewall that provided layer 3 and layer 4 protections. And Cloud Firewall comes with a lot of feature-rich capabilities, such as hierarchical policy support, IAM-backed security tags, firewall insights, and many more, right? So when we wanted to introduce our native next-gen firewall solution, we extended the Cloud Firewall policy language to enable you to express your intent of what traffic needs to go for advanced security inspection. So when it came time to introduce third-party insertion, we retained the same policy constructs and the language so that you are able to consistently express the intent of which of your traffic needs to be delivered to your deployed set of third-party firewalls for advanced deep packet inspection. What this means is all the feature capabilities of Cloud Firewall are enabled to you regardless of whether you choose to use first-party solutions or the third-party solution. This also means going through regulatory and compliance audits becomes a whole lot simpler. When it comes time for your next network security audit, there are only 2 details you need to share with your auditors. One, obviously, is the security policy that you implemented on your third-party firewalls, and 2, Cloud Firewall rules, which gives your auditors a comprehensive picture of which of your traffic is being protected by layer 3 and layer 4 rules, and which of your application traffic is being sent to your deployed set of third-party firewalls for advanced deep packet inspection. Staying on the theme of inheriting the rich feature capabilities of Cloud Firewall, the native integration with Firewall Insights allows you to get recommendations on how you can optimize your traffic selection rules to save on cost and to improve your network security posture. Coming to the second differentiator, the ability to express your network intent as a policy rather than networking rules allows you to seamlessly insert third-party next-gen firewalls into your existing brownfield application deployments without going through any network re-architecture or reconfiguration. The intent that you express is enforced at the workload. What this means is, even if this workload moves to a different VPC, different project, or if this workload spins down and comes back up at a later point in time, you can be rest assured that the policy will always follow the workload. Lastly, we are working with our next-gen firewall partners to allow you to implement micro-segmentation into your cloud workloads. The intent that you express in the cloud firewall rules is automatically shared with your deployed set of firewall appliances so that you don't have to express the intent in multiple places. The only additional detail that you have to express on the firewalls is what security services you want to enforce on your selected traffic. So far, I've covered how we made it easy for you to select what traffic needs advanced inspection. But then we also understand that deploying these firewall appliances at scale is often challenging. So we went one step further. We are working on this network service integration manager that will provide you guided workflows to discover, deploy, and operate third-party network security appliances. The approach we have taken is we will provide you a SaaS-like consumption experience while you retain the full control over the lifecycle of the appliances. What this means is you get to decide which version of software you want to run on these firewalls, what security or signature updates that you want to install on them, when you want to upgrade them or downgrade them. And all of this would be enabled through easy button approach. Most importantly, you will now have a single dashboard view to manage and monitor all your third-party deployments. Before I close out, I want to emphasize that innovations like this are not built in isolation. We are very grateful to our next-gen firewall partners, Cisco, Fortinet, Checkpoint, and Palo Alto Networks, who provided valuable guidance, feedback, and input to make sure that we are building the most easy-to-consume experience when it comes to network security on Google Cloud.